giving our resources related to the cause of Christ. You know that the cause of Christ is very costly. The cause of Christ takes time, takes resources. In fact, if you read the history, in many histories or point of the world walk or march of Christianity, many cost them their lives for the cause of Christ. It cost them their job, cost them their title. During the ancient time, you own, you could be Sir so-and-so or Duke so. You could lose those titles for the cause of Christ. They give so much for the cause of Christ because of their undivided conviction as to who Jesus is. Another reason that we can say that people are divided in their mind as to who Jesus is, and you could see it not only in their reactions related to who Jesus is, but when it comes to their life decision that involves Jesus. A person's goal of following Jesus as his life's ultimate purpose. That decision of following Jesus as life's ultimate purpose is not born by divided mind. It's born out of a mind that is convinced that Jesus is all that matters in this world. When everything is finished and done, when all your fortunes are all accounted for, when your health, your years in this world, when all is done and finished, the only thing that really remains is you're going to see Jesus. And so people who make that undivided decision as to who Jesus is, they make their life as the ultimate purpose being Jesus. And you see that with missionaries leaving their homes, leaving their cars, leaving their profession, go out there and preach the gospel somewhere where bugs and mosquitoes bite them and sometimes cost them their life. Why would they do that? Because they have one decision already as to who Jesus is. They're not divided as to who Jesus is in their mind. And also when it comes to life's goal, fulfilling Jesus' will in one's life as their main objective. See, there's so many objectives in this world. Oh, nothing wrong with becoming a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, a teacher, a nurse. Those are good professions. We pray that our kids would succeed in that. We spend money and resources to send them to school to finish that. But that is not supposed to be life's ultimate objective. That is a means to your ultimate objective. And for those who have already made up their mind, that their mind is not divided as to who Jesus is, they have already made up their mind that Jesus, like the song says, take the world, but give me Jesus. They already made up that Jesus is all the world to me. Right? That's the song. Jesus is all the world to me. Those who made that decision, they look at the rest of the world as just a means to fulfill God's calling or Jesus' calling in their life. So that's why this passage, divisions occurred in the crowd because of him. It's still occurring today in a different level. It's occurring in the minds of people, especially those who come to church. And we can observe that they are divided because, like I said, depending on their reactions when they talk about Jesus, depending on their decisions when it comes to Jesus related to their relationship with him. So during this time of Jesus, the people are divided practically in two areas. They're divided in who his parents are and where his where he's from. And they only know him as a person, so they would say, oh, we know him as a man from Nazareth. We know he's a carpenter's son. We know him as a teacher. That's what people call him. But they don't know him as the Son of God. That he is from heaven. Because they only knew his humanity, half of his identity. And until today, again, this division still exists in the minds of people. Talk to some different people and they have different idea of who Jesus is. Many of the people who comes to church again on Sundays, they still have not yet come up with a firm decision of who is Jesus really. We need to, that's why sometimes in Bible study or Sunday school, you won't be surprised that people will ask this question of the identity of Jesus. For us who already made up our mind that we're no longer divided in our thinking as to who he is, we know him to be what? Lord of Lords and King of Kings. That is not divisible. That is already concrete to the minds of many. That we know him to be the soon and coming King. That he will take over this planet. I was there in Mount Olives and our tour guide says, you know, if you look at Jerusalem, it's not on the top of the hill. It's in the middle. There are many other hills higher than that part. But it says that when Jesus comes, that part where the temple is will be elevated to the highest point. It will be the highest hill when Jesus comes. In other words, there will be a geological revulsion when Jesus comes. They say that the Mount of Olives will be split open. The Dead Sea will no longer be dead because it will flow to the Mediterranean Sea. And Jerusalem will be lifted up. And people, the Bible says, will flock all around the world to worship him there. There will be, at the return of Jesus Christ, there will be not only changes in terms of peace and tranquility, not only change in people's conduct and behavior, law enforcement, but also a geographical change. Maybe they said the islands will flag. Maybe the Philippines will be here, right by the coast of California. Don't have to worry about flying 18 hours. We don't know, but he said the islands will flag and be separate. Mountains will be shifted. And we know that to be at the coming of Jesus. For us who already made up that belief, we're not divided anymore as to who Christ is. That's what we're looking ahead of this time. People, however, don't believe the same way like that, even for those who come to church. And we believe that that is so, because if they believe the right thing about Jesus, like it says in the Bible, churches will be full of people. If your mind is no longer divided as to who Jesus is, you can't wait for Sunday like some people say. You will be one and focused on who Jesus is. So the question for us, to those who claim to know Jesus, question for us, for those who claim to believe in Jesus, question for those who claim to love Jesus, the question is, have you already made a decision as to who Jesus is in your life? I think we need to ask that question more often to our churches, not only in our church. I think we need to ask that question more instead of, well, we ask all kinds of questions, but sometimes we neglect to ask this question. We just assume that those who come to church, they already made up their mind. that they already have that undivided decision as to who Jesus is. Why do you think people come and go from church, shop from one to there? Because they're still not united in their mind. Their mind is still divided as to who Jesus is. So they jump from one church to the next, hoping that the Jesus over there is better than the Jesus over here. Sometimes they are so excited about Jesus, and sometimes they don't care whether they come to church because their mind is still divided about who this Jesus is. But if you have a singleness of mind about Jesus, it doesn't matter whether you're there in Korea or in the US or the Philippines, you still come to church on Sunday because you're not divided in your mind as to Jesus. The same Jesus in Korea is the same in Japan and the Philippines and so on. You're not divided in that. But sadly, there are still people who come to church who are still debating in their mind as to who Jesus is. And like I said, you can notice that in the way they react to this subject of Jesus and their decision in life as to how that life relates to Jesus. You know that in this story, if you follow the rest of the Gospel of John, that later on, these people who are undivided, these people who are divided in their opinion of Jesus, these are the same people later on who cried, "Crucify him." Crucify him. Why? Because to begin with, they're not sure of who this Jesus is. And you know, we talk in Sunday school, one of the fastest growing, or maybe the fastest, religion in the Philippines is the Iglesia ni Cristo Manalo. And of course the question is, where are they getting their members? Who are they converting to their religion? And almost everyone will say they get it from Catholics. Don't be surprised. Maybe some Baptists are there too. If they don't know their Bible. But majority of them are Catholics. Who are that? Most Catholics, they're still divided in their idea of who Jesus is. I was talking to our Sunday school that I looked into the internet. When I click my internet, there's always this section at the back, the side, these views, and if you click this, you'll see more of this view. We have that. So I click it every now and then. And the one I saw the other day was about Iceland. And I like to go there one of these days, Iceland. It's not all ice there. Because the Vikings who discovered Iceland are pretty smart. When they found a big land full of ice, they call it Greenland. And they discovered an island that is way up, it's a little bit north of their where they came from, Norway and all that part. But in the winter, it's still habitable. And they would like to colonize it. But they don't like others to go there. So they call it Iceland. Just to confuse the people. Greenland, nothing there but ice. Iceland, it's a nice place to go. So I'd like to go there. But I click on the icon, religion. What is the belief of these people on this island? So, it's good to go places, but you must always think also of how is that related to Jesus, I don't mind going vacation, but getting a job or anything, but try to connect that to Jesus. After all, the bottom line is Jesus. So when I click about the religions of this place, it says that people aged 25 and below don't believe in God or Creator. And that the pagan religion that is being introduced is growing, and the Christian religion are losing members. So it's not only here, even you go to Iceland, it's a global thing. I was telling myself, maybe it's good to start mission work there. Would you support me if I go there, missionary? $50 a month, no problem. But see the idea here that they have a national, what you call, church, mostly Lutheran, like 90% are Lutheran. But sad thing about this established church, people lose interest and people lose confidence in the church. What? That's why they're losing membership. People lose interest in the church. People are losing confidence in the church. Is that one of the reasons why we have a lot of empty pews? Less people and less people